You're so close-minded, so what if I sleep with my coworker? My GF mocked. She wanted freedom, so I gave her all of it by walking away. 2 weeks later, she came back crying, pregnant and broke. Her freedom turned into fallout. Hey Reddit, so I've been sitting on this story for a while, and I figured it's finally time to share it. Let's just say it's about what happens when someone confuses freedom with disrespect, and how walking away can sometimes be the smartest move a guy can make. Not looking for sympathy, just thought some of you would appreciate the lesson in peace over chaos. I, Steve, 27 male, met Cassandra, 26 female, at a mutual friend's birthday dinner, one of those rooftop spots with string lights and overpriced appetizers. She showed up talking fast, laughing louder than anyone, and somehow got everyone's attention without trying. I remember thinking she had main character energy, not in the cringy way, but like she genuinely believed the world was her stage. We started seeing each other right after that night. Our relationship had that early spark where everything feels like a highlight reel. We'd mess around cooking dinner together, burn half of it, laugh it off, then eat cereal on the floor. I liked that she could make anything fun. Grocery shopping, movie nights, even traffic. I was the practical one, and she'd tease me for it constantly. It worked because we both leaned into the differences. She'd come home talking about her latest art project, and I'd actually listen, help her build the frames or carry supplies. I'm a problem solver by nature. If something breaks, I fix it. And for a while, I thought that's what she liked about me. The stability, the way I made things less complicated. We got a small apartment together about a year in. It was nothing fancy, but it had character. Back then, I thought we were solid. We talked about future trips, maybe getting a dog, small stuff. Cassandra was doing more freelance design work, and I was focusing on my own projects. It felt easy until it didn't. The shift started after she landed a new job at a creative agency. And it sounded good at first. More pay, bigger clients. I remember being proud of her, but the change started fast. The first week she came home, she talked about her coworkers like they were prophets. They're just so in tune, she said once, scrolling through her phone. They actually live intentionally. They don't hide behind rules. I said, cool, but do they hit deadlines intentionally too? She didn't laugh. That was new. Then came the buzzwords. Every conversation started sounding like a self-help podcast. Alignment, energy, authentic expression. She started going to after-work gatherings, these rooftop brainstorm sessions that sounded more like hangouts. I didn't mind at first. I've never been the jealous type. But one name kept popping up. Lucas. Lucas says you can't find purpose if you're chasing security, she said one night over dinner. Lucas sounds unemployed, I replied. She glared at me like I insulted some spiritual leader. Apparently, Lucas was her creative director. Mid-30s, tattooed, lives authentically, which from what I gathered meant he wore scarves indoors and had strong opinions about monogamy. I started noticing little shifts in how she talked. The way she'd roll her eyes when I said things like, I'll grab groceries after work. Suddenly, responsibility was predictable. Planning was limiting. I wasn't offended, just quietly noting the irony of someone who couldn't organize her inbox calling me rigid. One night she came home late from some creative mixer. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes and said, you wouldn't believe how open-minded everyone is there? They actually live instead of surviving. I said, so they're broke? She sighed, you're so defensive. But I wasn't. I was observing. That's what I do. I don't yell. I don't throw plates. I just notice patterns. And hers were changing fast. Within weeks, she stopped including me in her plans. If I asked what she was doing that weekend, she'd say, I'm not sure. I just want to go with the flow. If I reminded her we had dinner reservations, she'd say, let's not box ourselves in. At first, I tried to meet her halfway. Gave her space, let her go do her thing. But the more freedom she grabbed, the less present she became. She'd scroll on her phone mid-conversation, laughing at texts from coworkers I didn't know. When I'd ask what was funny, she'd say, inside joke. The part that got me wasn't the distance. It was the arrogance. Like she had discovered a new level of existence, and I was just some regular guy clinging to structure. I didn't fight it. I just went quiet. Let her have her stage. Because here's the thing. When someone starts treating you like you're the problem for being consistent, it's usually because they're already planning an exit. I didn't need proof. I could see it in the way she looked past me when she talked. And that's when it hit me. You can't compete with someone who's dating an audience. I learned that fast. A week after that realization, Cassandra started treating me like a background character in her personal documentary. She'd still be around physically, but mentally she was somewhere else, probably crafting the next chapter of her self-discovery arc. We went out for lunch one Sunday, and she flinched when I reached for her hand across the table. You don't have to do that, she said. I frowned. Do what? Hold hands in public. It's performative. Performative, I repeated. Like breathing? She rolled her eyes. You don't understand. It's not authentic if it's forced. I leaned back. So, affection is fake now. Got it. That was the start of her authenticity phase. Suddenly, everything had to pass her invisible purity test. Compliments were surface-level validation. Physical affection was societal conditioning, and planning date nights was restricting spontaneity. One night she came home from work glowing, talking about how Lucas says monogamy is just a construct. I said, Yeah, a construct that's kept humanity alive. But go off. She didn't even smile. She just said, "You're so defensive, Steve. It's okay if you're not ready to evolve." Right. Because nothing says evolved like a 30-something man preaching freedom to his employees, I said, turning back to my laptop. I stopped asking questions after the first few excuses. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to give her another opportunity to play philosopher. Every question turned into a lecture, so I let her talk herself in circles. The next couple of weeks looked like this. I'd come home, she'd be on the couch scrolling through her phone, half listening while nodding. I'd ask about her day. She'd mumble something about feeling disconnected from the old version of herself. Then, she'd head out to clear her head. At first, I kept trying. Cooked her favorite dinner, tried to plan a weekend trip, even bought new furniture for the apartment. She walked in, glanced around, and said, "You're trying too hard." That's when something clicked. I realized I was the only one still in the relationship. So I stopped chasing. My effort went from 100 to 0 overnight. I wasn't cold, just done playing therapist to someone who didn't even want to heal. I'd answer her short texts with shorter replies. When she sighed dramatically during conversations, I'd match her silence. One night, she snapped. "You're emotionally unavailable," she said. I laughed. Funny coming from someone who's spiritually everywhere but physically nowhere. Her face twisted. "Wow. You think you're better than everyone because you don't feel things as deeply." I raised an eyebrow. "No, I just don't mistake chaos for depth." That shut her up. The tension between us became thick enough to taste. Finally, one night while she was half distracted by her phone, I said it flat out. "If you're done with this relationship, just say so. We can end it right now." Her head snapped up. "What? No, I don't want to end it." "You sure? Because this feels like a long breakup trailer and I don't want to humor it." She set her phone down, voice trembling just enough to sound human again. "Steve, I love you. You're just, I don't know, making this harder than it needs to be." "Then stop acting like a stranger," I said evenly. "Go back to normal." She blinked, confused. "Normal?" "Yeah. That thing we were before you started taking spiritual advice from people who can't afford their own rent." She frowned. "You just don't get it." I tilted my head, smiling faintly. "You're right. I don't get delusion." That did it. She grabbed her keys and left, slamming the door like she just proved a point. The next morning, I woke up to her Instagram story, some blurry shot of a sunrise with the caption, "Healing isn't linear." I laughed. "Neither is loyalty," I muttered, pouring coffee. From that day, she barely spoke to me unless it was about rent or logistics. She stopped calling me babe, started calling me Steve. You'd be amazed how quickly someone can go from love of my life to guy I live with. One night, she came home late again, humming. I was on the couch, TV muted, laptop open. She froze when she saw me still awake. "Hey," she said softly, testing the waters. I nodded. "Hey." She lingered near the hallway like she wanted to start a speech, then sighed and went to bed. No kiss, no goodnight, just silence. That's when it fully hit me. The woman I fell for wasn't in the room anymore. Just the echo of her, still pretending she was chasing something bigger than us. Cassandra used to laugh with her whole face, used to make ordinary days feel like something worth remembering. Now, everything she said sounded like a monologue rehearsed for strangers. And sitting there in that quiet apartment, I realized something most guys take too long to figure out. Sometimes the person you miss isn't them. It's who they pretended to be before they started performing. The woman I loved didn't exist anymore, just the ego she replaced her with. A week later, she showed up at the apartment, like she had a movie monologue rehearsed in her head. She walked in calm, almost too calm, wearing that fake peaceful expression people get when they've already made a bad decision and are trying to sell it as growth. "Can we talk?" she asked, setting her purse down. I paused my show and muted the TV. "Sure. You look like you've been practicing something. Go ahead." She took a deep breath, sat across from me, and folded her hands like she was about to lead a seminar. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about us. About love, and what it means to really love someone." I leaned back. "That's usually the intro people use before saying something stupid." She frowned. "I'm serious, Steve. I've realized that real love isn't about control or ownership. It's about freedom, letting each other explore, evolve, not keeping each other trapped by old rules." "Old rules," I repeated. "You mean commitment?" "It's not about cheating," she said quickly, like she'd rehearsed that line. "It's about honesty, emotional maturity, allowing attraction to exist without guilt." "Translation," I said. "You want permission to do whatever you want and still have me around when you're bored." She shook her head with that patient, condescending look that made my skin crawl. "You're twisting it. This is about transparency. Lucas and I have been talking a lot about this. He says..." I held up a hand. "Stop. Don't finish that sentence with Lucas says." She hesitated, but then pushed through it anyway. "If you really loved me, you'd let me go out with Lucas, just to see where things go. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just part of finding myself." I stared at her, calm as stone. "Then I guess I don't love you enough." Her face froze. That wasn't the line she expected. She thought I'd yell, argue, beg. Instead, I just looked at her like she'd asked for my Netflix password after breaking the TV. "What?" she said quietly. "You heard me," I replied. "If love means watching you explore other men, hopping from one to another, Then yeah, I don't love you that way. She blinked fast, confusion turning into irritation. You're being so rigid, Steve. You're acting like you own me. I smirked. You can't own what already belongs to everyone's DMs. Her jaw dropped. Wow, that's low. No, I said, still calm. Low is asking your boyfriend for permission to cheat politely. She crossed her arms. You're insecure. I laughed once. No, just too sane to sign up for your group project on enlightenment. Her voice rose a little. This is why people can't grow together. You shut down anything new. New? I asked. You mean repeating every shallow idea a man with a scarf told you over kombucha? She glared. You're mocking me. I nodded. You're right. Because it's funny. You're acting like a philosopher when all you've done is memorize your coworker's breakup playlist. She stood up, pacing now, hands gesturing like she was on stage. You just don't understand. I need to find myself. I need to figure out who I am outside of you. Cool, I said. Just don't get lost thinking I'll be waiting when you're done. She stopped, stunned again. So that's it? You're just giving up? I tilted my head. You're the one asking to date someone else while keeping me on standby. I'm not giving up. I'm letting you have what you want, without me attached to it. She frowned, trying to flip it back. You're scared. You think letting go means losing control. I grinned. You think sleeping with your boss's spiritual twin means empowerment. We all cope differently. Her face turned red. You're impossible. Actually, I said, standing, I'm just done being tested for loyalty while you audition for enlightenment. And for a second, I thought she might actually say sorry. But no, Cassandra wasn't wired for accountability. Instead, she squared her shoulders like she was walking into a scene. You'll see one day. Real love doesn't cage people. It frees them. Yeah, I said, opening the door for her. Free as in unemployed. You'll figure it out. She grabbed her purse like she was holding onto pride instead of fabric. You're going to regret this, she said, voice trembling between anger and desperation. I smiled, calm as ever. Doubt it. I don't regret removing confusion from my life. She huffed, walked out like she was making a dramatic exit in slow motion, and shut the door harder than necessary. The echo hung in the air for a second, then faded. I didn't chase her, didn't text, didn't post anything cryptic. I just sat back on the couch, picked up the remote, and unmuted the TV. The peace that filled the room felt like oxygen after months of noise. For a while, I just sat there, taking it in. That silence wasn't emptiness. It was freedom. The kind she kept pretending she wanted but never understood. People like Cassandra think they're brave because they break things to find themselves. Truth is, it's easy to destroy what you don't respect. The hard part is standing still and taking accountability, something she'd never do. She wanted an audience. I gave her a mirror. I know how this story sounds, harsh, detached, maybe even cold. But here's the reality. Once someone asks you to downgrade your self-respect to prove your love, it's already over. You can't guilt a man into weakness if he's already made peace with losing you. After she left, the silence hit different. Not the lonely kind, the kind that felt earned. For the first time in months, the apartment didn't sound like an argument waiting to happen. No sighs, no lectures about energy, no half-hearted apologies, just air and peace. I didn't reach out, didn't block her either. I didn't need to. Blocking someone means you're trying to prove you're over it. I already was. That first morning, I woke up early, made coffee, opened all the windows, her plants were dying, her mugs were scattered, and her art supplies were everywhere. I didn't touch them. Not yet. I just looked at them and laughed a little. The woman who preached about freedom couldn't even clean up after herself. I started spending my time doing what I should have done sooner, living like she wasn't in charge of the atmosphere. I went back to the gym after months of skipping it to deal with her moods. The first workout was rough, but that soreness felt better than any argument ever did. The guys noticed the change right away. My best friend Ryan came over that weekend with a 6-pack of sodas and said, "Dude, you look lighter. Like you just dropped 120 pounds of problems." I laughed. 120 might be generous. A couple of my friends crashed on the couch, and it turned into one of those random late-night hangouts that reminded me what normal actually felt like. At one point, my buddy Chris looked around and said, "Man, I never wanted to say it, but she always gave off weird vibes." Ryan nodded. Yeah, she had that energy like she thought she was smarter than everyone. Always talking like she discovered life while the rest of us were just existing. I chuckled. You're not wrong. She used to quote her coworker like he was some prophet. I should have known it was going downhill when she started calling cheating self-expression. Chris laughed so hard he almost spilled his drink. Bro, I swear, if a girl ever tells me she wants to explore energy, I'm changing my number. Add that to the list, I said, along with anyone who says the word alignment unironically. That night, we stayed up till 2 in the morning, roasting the whole situation. It wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. Guys heal through humor. We dissected the red flags I'd ignored, the emotional speeches, the fake deep posts, the constant need for validation. It was like reviewing a car crash after the dust settled. Ryan said, "You saw it coming though, right?" "Yeah," I said, leaning back. "I just kept hoping she'd stop performing long enough to be real again." "She never was," he said. "She just got good at acting." That stuck with me. The next few days were quiet, but not in a bad way. I started sleeping through the night again. Then, about a week in, I got a text from a coworker I barely talked to. "Hey man, not sure if you want to know this, but I saw Cassandra at a rooftop bar with some guy. Looked cozy." I stared at the screen for maybe 3 seconds before replying, "Good for her. Finally found someone to debate monogamy with." I put the phone down and went back to my work. That was it. No spike of anger, no deep sigh. Just confirmation of what I already knew. That's when I realized I'd officially detached. There's a point where the person who once had power over you just becomes a story you've already finished reading. The next morning, I decided to clear out her stuff. It wasn't an emotional moment, just practical. I packed up her sketchbooks, her weird crystal collection, the half-burnt candles that smelled like a forest fire, and all the little things she left behind to feel seen. I dropped the boxes off at her sister's place and didn't even ring the bell. Just left them by the door and drove off. The car felt lighter on the way home. Then one evening, right as I was finishing dinner, my phone buzzed. Her name lit up on the screen. For a second, I just stared at it. No excitement, no nerves, just curiosity. Like watching a rerun you already know the ending to. I let it ring twice before answering. "Yeah." Her voice came through shaky, like someone trying not to cry. "Steve, hey, can we talk?" I leaned against the counter, calm as ever. "You sound panicked. Everything okay?" I need to see you," she said, sniffling. "Please." I could hear the fear in her voice. Whatever fantasy she was chasing clearly didn't go as planned. "All right," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Come by." She sounded surprised I agreed so easily. "Really?" "Sure," I said. "You wanted freedom. I'm assuming this is part of it." She tried to say something else, but I'd already decided how this would go. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't hopeful. I was done. When I hung up, I couldn't help but smirk a little. Of course she called. They always call when the illusion cracks. And as I cleaned up the counter, I caught myself thinking, not in anger, just amusement. Of course she does. 2 hours later, there was a soft knock at the door. I opened it to find Cassandra standing there in one of my old hoodies, the faded gray one she used to steal all the time. Her hair was a mess, eyes red, and she looked nothing like the glowing free spirit who left me. She looked smaller, like reality finally smacked her across the face. "Hey," she said quietly. I leaned on the doorframe. "Hey." She stood there for a moment, clutching her sleeves like she was waiting for an invitation. I didn't move. Eventually, she took it as permission and stepped inside. The smell of my apartment hit her first. Clean, orderly, peaceful. The mural she'd painted was gone, replaced by a blank gray wall. She noticed immediately. "You painted over it," she said softly. "Yeah," I replied. Didn't match the energy I was going for. She flinched a little at that. We sat on opposite sides of the couch, a canyon of silence between us. Finally, she spoke. "I messed up." I didn't respond. She kept going, voice cracking. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I needed space to find myself. But all I found was, "Lucas," I asked. Her head snapped up. "That's not fair. Neither was what you did," I said calmly. She sighed, burying her face in her hands. "Steve, please, don't do this cold thing. Just listen to me." I folded my arms and leaned back. "I'm all ears." She took a shaky breath. "I made a mistake. I thought I could handle it, that I could separate emotions from experience. Everyone made it sound so easy. You know, just explore, no guilt. But it wasn't like that. It felt empty. I felt empty. And I didn't say anything. Just watched her try to put her life back together mid-sentence. She kept talking, tears spilling now. It's like I was chasing something that doesn't exist. And when I realized what I lost, it was already gone. "Yeah," I said. "That's usually how loss works." She sniffled, wiped her face with her sleeve. "You don't have to be sarcastic right now." "I'm not. I'm being realistic." She looked at me like she was searching for any trace of the guy who used to reassure her when she fell apart. She wasn't going to find him. "I didn't even know how to say this," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen, but..." My gut tightened, but my expression didn't change. "But what?" She hesitated, shaking. "I'm pregnant. The doctor said I'm about 5 weeks along. I found out a few days ago." The room went silent, completely still. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink for a few seconds. Then I just nodded slowly. "And I'm guessing you don't know whose it is." Her lip trembled. "No." I stared at her. Not angry, just done. Then, in the calmest voice I could manage, I said, "Well, freedom sure comes with perks." Her face crumbled. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "It's true," I said, standing up. "You wanted freedom, and this is what you got with it. Consequences. You gambled everything, and now you're shocked you lost." She started sobbing harder. "You don't understand, Steve. I thought you'd fight for me. I thought..." I cut her off. "You can't fight for someone who surrendered themselves." She looked up, devastated. "I didn't surrender. I was just confused." "No," I said firmly. "You were selfish. You wanted options. You wanted safety and chaos at the same time. And when it blew up, you came running back to the one person who still feels steady." "I thought you loved me," she whispered. "I did," I said. "But you killed that version of me the night you asked for permission to cheat." She covered her mouth, crying into her hands. "You're being heartless." I shook my head. "No, just finally honest." She got up like she wanted to storm out, but hesitated, standing there trembling. "I don't know what to do," she said softly. I can't do this alone. I looked her dead in the eye. You wanted independence. Here it is. Her sobs echoed in the quiet room. I didn't move, didn't touch her, didn't offer comfort. I wasn't cruel. I was just finished. After a minute, she wiped her tears, grabbed her purse, and walked toward the door. Her hand lingered on the handle like she was waiting for me to stop her. I didn't. When she finally stepped out, she whispered, "I'm sorry." I said, "Yeah, be sorry to me, and to yourself." The door clicked shut, and the sound lingered longer than she ever did. I stood there for a second, breathing in the silence. It didn't feel heavy this time. It felt earned. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared at the city lights outside. Everything looked clearer now. Not brighter, just cleaner. That's the thing about peace. You think it'll come soft, but it doesn't. It shows up after you've cleared out everything that disturbs it. I sat back down on the couch, leaned my head against the wall, and let the quiet sink in. She was gone. Maybe for good this time. And for once, that didn't hurt. It felt right. Because peace isn't free. It's just expensive enough that only self-respect can buy it. A few days after Cassandra's visit, I thought it was finally over. The silence held. My days were calm again. Then one morning, I woke up to a long text from an unfamiliar number. It was her mom. "How could you abandon Cassandra? She's falling apart. You pushed her into this, and now you're pretending it's not your problem. We need to talk and solve this like adults." I stared at it for a few seconds, half annoyed, half curious. Solve what exactly? The mess her daughter created after giving a TED Talk on freedom? Still, out of basic decency, or maybe curiosity, I replied, "All right, when and where?" She sent the address, their family home. I should have known it was an ambush the second I saw it. When I walked in, the atmosphere was thick enough to choke on. Cassandra was there, sitting on the couch, looking smaller than ever, eyes swollen from crying. Her mom stood by her, arms crossed, the picture of righteous fury. Her dad sat stiff in the armchair, silent but clearly not thrilled either. "Steve," her mom said sharply, "I'm glad you came. We need to discuss what you've done to our daughter." I blinked once, then smiled politely. "Sure, let's hear it." Her mom launched right in, voice trembling with outrage. "You abandoned her when she needed you most." She told us everything. How you pushed her away, how you refused to help her, how you made her feel like she was worthless. And now she's pregnant and alone. I looked at Cassandra, who kept her eyes down, pretending to cry harder. The performance was strong, Oscar-worthy even. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "I didn't abandon anyone. Your daughter made a series of choices, all labeled under freedom. I just stopped volunteering as her life coach." Her mom gasped, clutching her chest like I'd insulted her bloodline. "You're unbelievable." She was vulnerable. I raised an eyebrow. She was also very vocal about not wanting to be tied down by old rules. Did she forget to mention that part? Her dad finally spoke up, voice stern. "Steve, that's not helpful. The point is, she's pregnant. You can't just walk away." I took my phone out, unlocked it, and placed it on the coffee table. "You're right, which is why I'd like to make sure we're all on the same page." I scrolled through the messages, her texts about freedom, about emotional exploration, about how she needed to see other people to understand her true self. I handed the phone to her dad. "That's your daughter's version of commitment." The room went quiet. Her mom's face drained of color as her husband read each message. He looked up slowly, eyes sharp with disgust. "Cassandra," he said, voice low and cold, "you lied to us." Cassandra's lower lip trembled. "Dad, it's not like that. I was just..." "Don't," he cut in. "You've embarrassed yourself enough." Her mom turned on her. "You told us Steve abandoned you, that he pressured you, that he refused to help. You made us believe he was heartless." Cassandra buried her face in her hands, crying harder, mumbling something about miscommunication. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching the truth rearrange the room. Her dad shook his head, disgusted. "You've brought shame to this family." Her mom sat down, defeated. For the first time, she didn't defend her. The silence in that room felt heavy, but deserved. After a minute, I stood up. "You wanted truth," I said quietly. "That's what it looks like. No yelling, no dramatic exit, just calm finality." I picked up my phone, nodded politely, and walked out. As I closed the door behind me, I could still hear her mom saying, "What happened to you, Cassandra? What happened?" I didn't need to stick around for the answer. I already knew. A week later, I got an envelope in the mail. Thick, official looking. The sender, some insurance agency. I opened it and almost laughed. Cassandra had listed me as the baby's father for coverage. I sat there for a moment, reading through the paperwork. The dates didn't even line up. She must have thought if she threw my name into the mix, I'd panic and crawl back. Rookie mistake. I gathered all my proof. Our breakup texts, her freedom messages, the timestamps showing she'd already moved out before she said she was pregnant, plus the clinic's estimated conception window she'd texted me later, which didn't line up with us. I sent it all to the agency with a short note. The timeline doesn't lie. 3 days later, I got an email from the insurer confirming they'd removed me from her dependent paperwork since we weren't partners, and I disputed paternity. They said any questions about fatherhood would get handled after the baby's born. No drama, no hassle, just efficiency. Then the fun part came. Her parents found out. I don't know who told them. But I got a message from her dad that said, "We're sorry you got dragged into this. We didn't know she listed you." Translation, she got caught. I didn't reply, didn't need to. Some things don't deserve closure, just distance. Later, Ryan called me. "Dude, heard about the paperwork thing. You good?" "Perfect," I said. Apparently, my freedom came with fewer consequences than hers. He laughed. "She really tried to trap you, huh?" "Yeah," I said, "but you can't trap someone who's already walked out of the cage." That night, I sat on my balcony, sipping coffee, watching the city lights flicker below. I wasn't angry, just done. I finally understood the kind of person Cassandra was. Someone who'd rather rewrite the story than admit she ruined it. She'd burn every bridge before admitting she built the fire. And that's why I stopped looking back. That was the last time her name ever showed up in my mailbox. And honestly, best mail I ever sent back. Months passed after that mess. My life finally hit the quiet rhythm I'd been chasing for years. Work was smooth, even started seeing someone new, a woman named Kara. She was grounded, funny, and didn't talk like she just finished reading a self-help thread on enlightenment. It wasn't serious yet, but it was real, normal, refreshing. One Thursday afternoon, I was at a cafe near work, waiting on Kara. The place was half full, soft music, low chatter, that mix of coffee and rain smell. I was leaning back, scrolling through emails, when I heard a voice behind me say my name. "Steve?" It was soft, shaky, familiar. I turned around. Cassandra. She looked wrecked. The kind of wrecked that time and regret carve into a person. Her hair was tied up messily, dark circles under her eyes, and she had a small but noticeable baby bump under an oversized jacket. For a second, it was hard to connect this quiet, tired woman with the one who once strutted around preaching about freedom. "Hey," I said, calm as ever. Her lips parted like she wasn't sure what to say. "Wow, you look different." "I feel different," I replied, setting my phone down. She nodded awkwardly, clutching a to-go cup with both hands. "Can I sit?" I gestured at the chair across from me. "Sure." She sat down slowly, like every move was an effort. "I didn't expect to run into you," she said. "I live here," I said dryly. Not exactly a plot twist. She gave a weak laugh, then sighed. "You're still sarcastic." "Yeah," I said. "Still sane, too." She looked down at her cup, fidgeting. "I heard you're seeing someone." I shrugged. "Something like that." The silence stretched. She looked exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally. Like all the speeches about freedom had finally burned out, and she was left holding ashes. Then she said quietly, "Lucas left." I didn't react. "When?" "As soon as I told him about the baby," she said, her voice breaking. "He said he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Moved to another city. Blocked my number." I leaned back, completely unfazed. "Shocking. I thought open-minded philosophers made great dads." She winced. "Please don't do that." "Do what?" "Mock me. I already know how bad it looks." I nodded. "Then at least we agree on something." She took a shaky breath. "I've been thinking about everything. What happened, what I said, what I did. You were right. About all of it. I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted. I thought it would make me feel powerful, but it just made me feel disposable." I didn't respond. I just sipped my coffee. "I miss you," she said, voice trembling. "I miss how safe I felt with you. You were the only person who ever actually cared about me." I stared at her for a moment, then said, "You wanted freedom. You got it. I just chose peace." She blinked rapidly, tears welling. "I know I ruined everything, but can't we just start over? I've changed, Steve. I've grown up. I understand now. We can raise this baby together," she said, rubbing her belly. I leaned forward slightly. "You said that every time you crossed a line. You don't grow by breaking people who loved you. You grow by facing what you did without asking them to rebuild you." I continued, "And I will absolutely not raise another man's baby." She started crying openly now, trying to hide it behind her hands. "You don't mean that. You've always cared. I know you still care." "I do," I said calmly. "But caring doesn't mean cleaning up your mess." Her voice cracked. "You're really not going to forgive me?" I shook my head. "You don't need forgiveness. You need accountability. Two very different things." She tried to reach across the table, but I moved my hand back before she could touch it. "Don't do that. It feels performative." I threw her words back. For a second, she just sat there, shoulders trembling, mascara smudging, whispering something about how she never thought it would end like this. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and dropped a few bills on the table for my coffee. She looked up at me with wide, desperate eyes. "Please, Steve, just talk to me. Don't walk away again." I looked down at her, this woman who once thought she was too enlightened for commitment, too wise for boundaries, too free for consequences. And I said, "You walked away first." I just stopped following. Then I turned and left. I didn't look back, didn't wait for a response, didn't need to. I walked out of that cafe into the afternoon sunlight, feeling lighter than ever. I didn't need closure. I already had it. It came the moment I stopped confusing patience with self-neglect. Later that evening, Kara texted me. "Still good for dinner?" I smiled. "Yeah, on my way." As I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of Cassandra through the front window of the cafe. Still sitting there, head in her hands, the world around her moving while she stayed stuck. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't sad. It was just reality catching up. She thought freedom meant no rules. I knew it meant no respect. And between the two, I'll pick peace. Every single time.